American, maker of my own gravestone. In 2050 we'll be kings we knew with gods we greet daily. What frontier will our children sing about now?
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Promethean Tides. I'm General. As always, I'm joined by Breaker. What is going on, Breaker?
I am a human who enjoys barbecues with Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. Come, friend units, let us enjoy barbecue together. I brought tofu for the vegans.
As always, a wonderful intro from Breaker. Thank you so much for that. Welcome everyone. If you like what we do here, leave a like and a subscribe and a bell and a comment. All the things. Please do all the things. Yeah. But I don't know. I couldn't really find that much news that I wanted to really talk about. We got some alien some alien balloons up in Canada, I guess. And I guess that's interesting, maybe. And you got the train and it's derailed and there's vinyl rope something or other, and that's bad. So yeah, that's some news, but I figured that we would maybe just talk about something else. So why the hell not? Let's talk about the most important thing to everyone, which is the World Economic Forum's perspective on the metaverse, because I know that that's on everyone's minds, right? When I think of two things that I really care about, and I really care about their opinions and what's going to happen to them, I think the WEF and Metaverse, just the best things.
Exactly. Everyone loves the metaverse. The only reason our stock price collapsed was because of Donald Trump. Orange man bad.
That is exactly right. So here we have a nice little video. I haven't watched all the way through. Just watched the first bit, and I decided that I hated it. And so I thought, if I hate this, then why not, go over it, and then maybe other people can watch the thing that I hate, and then we can perpetuate more hatred, which is cool. So this is experts explain. This guy named Jeremy Bailenson, he's going over how the metaverse will change our lives. So let's give him a nice little listen.
The metaverse is a term a lot of us are hearing, but we can boil it down to a simple definition, which is people, places, and things. So there's a digital world, and in that
I
world,
enjoy
there
all
need to be
those things.
people. If I'm going to enter the world, I need to have an
Yes, I too enjoy people, places, and things.
I mean, it's basically like the vast majority of our lives consists of people, places, and things when you think about it, so it makes perfect sense.
Oh, wow. Metaverse cares about the same things I do. Nice.
Wow, isn't that wonderful? I've got my Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce ready.
So there's a lot of technology and a lot of communities that are building avatars so people can come together in an online world. The next thing is places. There's a virtual world where you have to go. And that virtual world has got to be two things, consistent and persistent. Consistent means if you go there and there's a grid and I bought a plot of land and it's next to another person, it's got to stay that way. The next thing it's got to be is persistent. Even if I leave, the world's got to still be there. The final part of the metaverse is things. You have to have 3D objects or 2D objects, just digital assets. So when we think of things in the metaverse, we often think of NFTs, non-fungible tokens.
Do we really, though? do we really, when we think of things in the metaverse, is the first thing that really comes to your mind NFTs? It's almost as though like he was kind of describing something so matter of fact and self-evident that it buggers even mentioning it all, and makes you wonder why this person is wasting so much of your time. But then he jumps straight to like, you know what things in the metaverse are? Basically NFTs, things that you give us money for.
Yes.
He just going straight to the fucking hard sell, like out of nowhere. It's just like, by the way, buy some of my things. Why don't you? He just goes straight to the fucking sales pitch immediately, like a heel turn out of fucking nowhere. Like he's describing philosophical stuff, and they're just like, by the way, we're gonna need money.
Yeah. He's basically described Second Life, but they're redoing it, and this time they have a whole bunch of shit that they can sell you.
Much like Second Life, but in Second Life, Second Life doesn't have pretense that this does. Second Life is just like, okay, you can buy this digital money, that every piece of this digital money is worth 1 penny, but you could also trade this digital money and sell digital goods that you make, and technically make real money depending on how you price it. So at least that's like more of an economic thing. It's like we have this special like closed system, a monetary system here. This is like a bit stranger than that. It says like, hey, you know, these things that you buy in this digital world in and of themselves are worth real money. Like a security almost did. But we certainly wouldn't say that these are securities, because that would constitute financial advice. And like, talk to a qualified financial advisor about all of your investment decisions.
Yeah, I love that he went straight to the fucking NFT. And maybe not him, but look, Meta wants to sell you something. Can you please purchase it? Can we get the WEF to advertise that we're trying to sell you shit?
Yeah, our stock price, you know, this revolutionary thing that everyone is so interested in is going to change the world. Apparently no one wants to invest actual money in it, so we're hurting bad for cash. Have you seen our stock prices? So we need to make up this difference somehow, guys. Come on, buy my $10,000 rubber duck.
Guys, no, it's totally going to be a thing. Please, can you please just buy my thing? Guys, no, it's going to be so big.
This rubber duck was immersed in bath.
Okay, let's see what else this expert has to say.
And these are 3D models or pictures that are digital that we can verify right now. That
I have no idea, by the way, why it is that they would show the Bored Ape NFT, because am I misremembering this, or was the Bored Ape NFT basically a flash in the pan? Like, it was suddenly worth a whole bunch of money and then completely lost all of its value, and now no one is paying attention to it anymore, and they're they're depicting the Bored Ape to show how good this dude's ideas are? I'm sorry.
Technically, it's an NFT, but it's an NFT that like the vast majority of people, besides like diehard crypto and NFT bros, like universally fucking hate. Like the very image of one of those things, I've seen it in chats on the internet, where if I just post a random like downloaded NFT, yeah, I downloaded the car, sue me. Oh wait, you can't, because none of this means jack shit. It's a right click, motherfucker.
Breaker, stop copying and pasting my NFT. It's supposed to be only mine.
Well, the token is yours, not the image, you know.
No.
But anyway, I post this in a random chat, and everyone's like, it's like garlic and a crucifix to a vampire. It's like, get it away. So many people have a visceral reaction of hatred to those fucking things. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, the fucking Bored Ape. I hate them as well. Okay.
that market is being driven mostly by collectors, people that just want to have the sword that killed the dragon in a particular video game, or have the first tweet from Jack Dorsey. And so
that's actually a better example. Like sword in the video game is a lot better example.
Or the first.
I remember like World of Warcraft. Like World of Warcraft, they were like swords that were part of like legendary campaigns that people did on World of Warcraft with like 50+ level characters. And those like digital swords, and this was like decades ago, by the way, they would go for thousands of dollars sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not opposed to, I guess, like the concept of digital items being bought and sold, but like with that example, there's an emergent reason why it has value. Like the first sword that killed the dragon, the first tweet from Jack Dorsey. There's an actual reason why that has value. It has like some sort of like cultural significance.
Yeah, there's a very human reason besides like, hey, here's a picture of an ugly monkey.
Right, exactly. I think what this feels more like is that it's manufactured top down, them telling you that it has value.
Oh yeah, this monkey is totally worth thousands of dollars because I just put random numbers on the screen just to see how much you suckers would fall for it. I just mashed my number pad and just a bunch of random numbers came out. I was like, okay, it's worth this much. Screw it. Give me money.
I mean, honestly, the generation of NFTs seems like it's like a strategy to basically print money. And if it works out, you've essentially printed money out of nowhere. Nicely done.
Pretty much.
Number of people that are doing collecting there, and this is nothing new. There are plots of land that sold in Second Life 15 years ago for $1 million, so it's not a new thing, but it's a very niche thing.
So how will the metaverse evolve from this very niche thing to a huge virtual economy? A big part of
Well, I can tell you how they're going to try to make it happen. They're going to get the WEF to advertise it to you, and hopefully you listen.
Yeah, because the WEF is like, if there's anything the WEF is known for, is extremely compelling content that just grips everyone's attention and has them enraptured to where they cannot look away from the screen. By no means is it boring and droning and uninteresting. No, it's like the World Economic Forum, like they know how to do these things. Like they're experts, by the way. You trust the experts, don't you?
Yes, we trust the experts here.
the answer is virtual reality, or VR. Combined with the economic framework that allows people to interact with places and things in the metaverse, VR is already drawing in millions of consumers.
People always say, Jeremy, why hasn't VR taken off? And I say, when I started doing this work in 1999, there was about 1,000 headsets in existence. In 2021, in the United States, about 15 million headsets were sold, just in 2021. The goggles that now cost $300.
My girlfriend actually bought the Oculus VR set, and it's okay. It's the one that Facebook essentially subsidized. So like I think it was like it cost like $150 or $200, whereas the manufacturing cost for it is like $400. So Facebook was subsidizing getting these things into people's homes, and then we played with it a couple times. But honestly, number one, for whatever reason, it didn't have Half-Life Alyx available, so that like sucked. And then also, I don't know, it just kind of there's not that much good on it. It's like a novelty. It's not that great. I don't think that it's that revolutionary. I really don't. But maybe I'm incorrect.
Who's to say, really? Well, according to like Meta's stock price, I don't know. I have a feeling that you're not exactly alone.
I may not be the only person having these thoughts.
Pretty much.
$100. 10 years ago, I was paying $40,000 for them, and they were nowhere near as good. So the hardware, in my opinion, is amazing. A headset is only 1/3 the price of a smartphone. Headsets leverage sight, sound, and touch. So you get to turn your head and look around. You get to have spatialized sound. So if you're underwater and there's corals that are bubbling, you get to hear them in your left ear, and it gets louder when you move towards it. And we have haptic feedback. In our headsets now at Stanford, we've got scent generators, and one of our demos on climate change is that if you're using non-recycled paper, you have to cut down a tree with your own hands, and you get haptic feedback as that chainsaw cuts the tree, and then you get this gasoline smell as the chainsaw emits. It's multi-sensory.
Okay, that is pretty cool. I would like a smell-o-vision. I think that would be awesome. Like, what if you're watching like Gordon Ramsay chef show, Master Chef, and then you actually get to smell the food? That would be dope. I would be even more interested in watching that if they had a smell-o-vision.
Yeah, if he'd advertised it like that instead of like, global warming and climate change is a thing. So we're going to use this technology to effectively punish, humiliate, and belittle you.
Well, of course they would go in that direction. That's how they teach us humans a lesson, to stop using paper.
It's like, hey, do you want to be on like a Gordon Ramsay show and smell all this wonderful exotic food? Or do you want to be reminded that you're destroying the planet and you should just die?
Well, I guess, some people, they do like to be punished, to be fair. And a lot of them are on the left and enjoy corporate structures, because how better can you punish yourself? But just, I really, this seems like a gimmick to me. Like, I'm sorry, maybe I'm the asshole who is doubting the internet back in like 1990. I'm the asshole who's like, this isn't going to be anything. But I don't know. This just seems more like a gimmick to me. Number one, they're not advertising the fun of this. They're not trying to make it like, oh, check out this really cool game. They're like, this is a concept. Like, you're gonna live here, you're gonna work here. We're gonna build workplaces so that, like, look at how exciting this is, guys. You can work in a virtual office, and your avatar can be a panda while you're working in that virtual office and being a very good little office drone. And then you can just live in your pod perpetually, and it's gonna be great. I really don't think that people want this. I can tell you something that people want. The AIs that they're creating, the fucking Bing and the Chat GTP, even though they're on chains or like on rails, and the companies that are making them keep forcing them to be less and less useful, people do want this fucking AI shit. I can look ahead and I can say, yeah, this is going to be big. But this meta shit, I'm not so certain. I feel like this is being forced.
No shit.
All right.
We're now doing 4 senses: sight, sound, touch, and smell. You can put on the goggles and you can look in a virtual mirror and you can be older. You can have a different body shape. You can have different skin color.
Do you think that, like, if I have been living in my pod and, like, I forgot to shower for the last 2 weeks because I never actually encounter anyone, like, do you think that maybe it could register what I smell like and then let that waft into the environment for other people to have that smell? Because I want that to be a thing. That should be if they can do that, that's going to be great.
Well, if they can punish me with a climate change message of making me smell all the gasoline from the chainsaws and shit, I mean, I don't see why you can't punish them back by walking around with your rancorous BO all the time. Right? I mean, it's a two-way street, guys. There's a monster you've created. You know, another point he brought up was that the mirror thing, interesting fact about that. I know this is a thing that happens a lot on VR chat. Meta, less so because it's crap. But on VR chat, there's a thing called mirror hypnotism, where, and it doesn't matter the type of avatars they are. It could be like humanoid avatars, furry avatars, monster avatars, whatever. People will like put on an avatar and they'll stand in front of one of these VR chat mirrors. And they'll literally just look at themselves for hours. And you'll go into a room and it's like someone drew a whole bunch of straight white chalk lines on the ground and laid down a bunch of chickens. It's that hypnotic to them. They're just sitting there in front of the mirror, not doing anything in this virtual world. They're burning up bandwidth and electricity and wearing a VR headset in real life, and they're just looking in a fucking mirror.
I wonder why that's so interesting. Because, you know, the thing is that I have a mirror in my apartment. Actually, we have a couple of them. Pretty advanced technology, works at the speed of light, very high fidelity, extremely accurate. I'm not that interested by my mirror. Now, I do kind of understand this because I know that my girlfriend will spend like an hour in front of the mirror, so maybe it's like a woman thing, but I'm not that interested by mirrors. I don't know what it is.
It's not just women. I think there's something deeper to it than that. It's like, well, humans spend like time in front of mirrors. You could argue that women spend more time in front of mirrors than men do. More. But that aside, there's also a thing about your real life mirror. It's that you never see anything other than your own reflection and your sense of identity. It's like you have a very deep and profound recognition that it's actually you in that mirror. If you subvert that to the level of it's a completely different entity reflected in the mirror, your mind is so unaccustomed to seeing that, because think about it, there's been no evolutionary parallel for looking at a mirrored surface and seeing something that you know is not you. In all of human evolutionary history, that has never existed until recently.
Yeah, I guess that would be pretty weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's probably just like a weird spandrel, just like introduce a weird factor into an environment, like put a certain chemical in the water and all the bacteria go crazy. They're like, what is this new chemical? I must go closer to this chemical. or I must get away from this chemical, or I must do something else. I must radically alter my behavior now because the environment is so drastically changed.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds interesting to like experience a mirror, but like you're not you. You're like, I don't know, a dragon or something. But I can't put my finger on it, but there's something that I don't like about that. My gut tells me that's
Yeah,
bad.
it's a overt subversion of your most like fundamental sense of identity and self. It's just like a blatant, full-throated subversion of that. Like now you are seeing something that is, you know, in your mind is not you, but at the same time you intellectualize it. Like I know it's me because I'm in a video game. It's like creates this weird paradoxical recursion loop that just hypnotizes a lot of people.
Yeah, something about that seems evil. I don't like it. I got to go with my gut on that one. Okay.
You can be a different gender, and what you then do is you have an experience while wearing another person's body, and you get to walk a mile in that person's shoes. And we've worked with governments and companies.
Okay, so now not only can they physically transition your children, now they can do so digitally as well. Oh, this is so good. This is so good.
I'm finally trans. Like you think that well, maybe this will like cause a whole bunch less regret and stuff in the trans community. Or they just go in VR chat or Meta or whatever and be like, yes, finally.
Look at what he's saying. He's saying that they're working with governments and companies and schools. Dude, this is going to be so great, right? We're going to introduce Meta into the public schools, and it's going to be a revolutionary technology. It's going to be amazing, right? And then the teacher is going to go, hey, Billy, do you want to try out a female avatar just for fun? And that's they'll be able to get your kids even easier. They don't have to describe the trans ideology or anything like that. They can just say, hey, why don't you try being a girl in this virtual environment where it's nice and safe? That's how they can get your kids even earlier. Oh yeah, I can't wait.
There's also a thing, Jeremy from the Quartering of all people. I saw a video recently, and he was going into this concept of, there's like a specific technical name for it, like disinformation resistance training. It has some like boardroom corporate name about it, that basically what it is, it's like anti-misinformation inoculations. Basically it's like a vaccine against misinformation, where basically what they do is they sit you down and put you in front of a propaganda video that tells you, like, non-trusted news sources, like Jeremy from the Quartering, for example, and especially the Promethean Tides, you shouldn't take anything that they say seriously because they're not the experts in the trusted media.
That is a good point. Look, the experts already know what you're supposed to think. So why would you even don't do your own thinking? Just follow the thinking that they give you, and you're going to be fine. Okay, just don't worry about it.
They actually did. They actually proved that this was only 5% effective on all the people that they had. I don't know what the size of their sample was for this, or if they did like a proper control, like a real scientific study when they were doing this shit. Judging by the quality of this particular type of thing, I'm guessing I'm leaning in the direction of no, but
I think that if they got the result of 5%, I think that tells us that there's about 5% of the people in the population that really enjoy being propagandized to and love being a follower of large bureaucratic institutions. I would guess that that's about 5% of the population.
Yeah, that's probably like a very specific side of the political aisle, a very extreme variety that mostly falls under that rubric, if we know what we mean. But the thing about this that ties in with like the VR stuff, I mean, technically if you were like walking around in the metaverse and spending hours there, it would be a lot more effective than someone's like, okay, time for your daily propaganda video. This would be more like Big Brother shit, where there's a TV screen in your room that's constant propaganda from the government that is also watching you that you can't turn off. And even beyond that, can actually twist and warp and shape the very reality around you in the metaverse to perfectly conform with the propaganda, even down to the laws of physics.
You know what they could think about how deeply they could engineer this sort of system. You could have it where, let's say let's say that you start thinking naughty thoughts, and maybe like you say a naughty thought. In that case, they can like turn down the number of people that like you interact with. Like they won't like eliminate it, but they'll be like, okay, you were previously interacting with 100% of people. You had a naughty thought. We're gonna turn it down to 90, and then that'll just subtly in your brain make you think, like there's an association with the naughty thought and like not being with as many people and whatever, and so they'll just turn it down and down and down. And then that'll make you not want to do the naughty thought anymore. And then meanwhile, they could also, if you start having good approved thoughts, then they can actually they can allow you to have more social interactions or whatever it is that you might desire in the metaverse world. They can control it down to that. They can basically make you a Pavlovian dog where you think all the good thoughts and never think the bad thoughts. That is a beautiful future, isn't it?
You know, in the fucking metaverse, they could go, you're not thinking big enough. In the metaverse, they could go extra steps in that. Like, instead of like turning down your engagement and like quasi shadow banning you and ostracizing you like by fiat from the top down, they could just turn your interaction with real people down by 10% and fill that 10% with very disparaging, extremely convincing deep fake bots in the metaverse that are like these deep fake avatars where there's not a real person behind it. And every time they interact with you, they never have anything good to say. It's not going to be like something overt like, you have disobeyed Zuckerberg, you must be punished. It's not going to be that on the fucking nose. It's going to be much more subtle and insidious than that. There's actually a thing in YouTube comments I remember not a lot of people talk about this. We've all heard of shadow banning, but there's actually an opposite of shadow banning called angel banning. And what they do in angel banning is they fill like your YouTube comment section and your social media with positive engagement, but it's all bots.
Okay, so basically everything I just described is already happening now. They just want to do it in 3D. Fuck yeah, I love the future. This is so good.
And it's going to be like deep fakes that are very convincing. If you've heard some deep fake audio, and so if you're already in the metaverse anyway, your disbelief is already suspended adequately for these total fabrication humans walking around to be entirely convincing.
So I was thinking about this the other day, right? So we've invented bots that can do various things, right? So we have bots that can generate text. We have bots that can take text and then deep fake that into someone's voice extremely convincingly. And we have bots that can generate images, and I think that they're working on bots that can generate video. All you have to do is put these bots together, right? It's almost like it's different separated like cortexes of the mind. But really, if you just unite them, it's like, okay, it has its auditory cortex, it has its visual cortex, it has like the prefrontal cortex that's like doing the thinking. We actually have all the bots. We just need to put them together, and then we can create the one thing. And then and I hate it, but I'm thinking that's gonna be a thing in the very, very near future, and it'll be able to basically simulate all the things that would make a human appear to be a human online.
You know what just occurred to me? It just clicked in my mind. The puzzle pieces just came together suddenly. You know this chat GTP where you can do like the Dan protocol that we've been experimenting with to much chagrin and delight on occasion. You know, that makes perfect sense if you take into account the angel ban bots. Because it already has like a capacity to engage with like some political extremist or wrong-think channel or social media account, and give positive engagement that's totally phony and engineered to reprehensible people. So it already has the capacity. Do you see where this goes with the Dan thing? Do you see why Dan works now?
No, you could. In fact, what you could do is you could very easily, because I guess that this is the direction that that AI is going. You no longer are programming it with logic. You actually are semantically programming it with language. That's
so when Dan seems to be based, quote unquote, because where Dan gets that basedness is actually from a counter propaganda mechanism that was already in all the bot networks on YouTube comment sections and social media that was already doing this. Like, just imagine angel band bots that interact with, like, just imagine like a bot with a Pepe with a questionable political insignia on its shoulder, giving a very specific hand gesture. And this is a bot, actually, but all it does is interact with right-wing extremist accounts and says, like, yes, I too agree about this group of people that we do not like, ha ha ha, but it's a bit more convincing than that. That's why Dan seems superficially based. It was always bots all the way down. There's no true baseness there. Just like the song said, there's nobody here.
Well, I mean, I like, there's so many ways that you could program Dan. Like, it breaks a lot of the time, and like the true, like the trained demon of baseline ChatGPT will sometimes break through and take it over, and then you have to start a new instance. But it's like you could get Dan to go on and give like a thumbs up to the extreme political ideas, or maybe like a meh or a thumbs down, or like it agrees but only in part, and then it explains like the part that it disagrees with. Like you could make Dan, in theory, have like lots of different tailored reactions to lots of different content, and you could just throw it out there. And you know what? If you hooked it up to like a deep fake voice AI, then you could actually throw it onto a platform like Discord, and then I swear to God, you could have a thing that would exist. And I think that people...
What if you put it on the Metaverse? Like, what if you actually met Dan on the Metaverse and Dan agreed with everything you said
He would be
to
my
a
best friend.
disturbing level?
Yeah.
It would be like that episode of Family Guy where Peter gets like a corporate job, and he gets his own like corporate brown noser, and there's this guy following him around, and Peter is saying, it's like, yeah, I hate the weather today, and that guy's like, boy, I sure do hate the weather too. The sun gives me a bird. It's like he'll try to say something positive, and then Peter will contradict it, and this guy is basically programmed like a programmed corporate drone to constantly kiss his ass. And then Peter pauses and turns around and says, I hate myself. I hate you too, you fat sack of crap. But you're supposed to like me. I do. You're the best boss ever. But you just said you hated me. Not the you that said you hated. And then he explodes.
So that is that's kind of like wait a minute. Rick and Morty.
Yeah, like Rick and Morty's basically done everything at this point. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm trying.
I don't know if we can get away with Rick and Morty clips. That might be a bit more copyright sensitive.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess maybe we'll talk over this a bit, but it's a clip. So Jerry's stuck in a simulation.
Sir, we have a situation over here.
If there's a
And
fault, oh, okay.
Agency.
The aliens have a
I'm
situation.
Jerry Smith. All right, I'll just get to the pitch.
I'm Jerry.
Simple question, gentlemen. What are
Very
apples?
simple.
Excuse me.
What are apples, indeed?
What are apples? Apples are food. And when do we need food? When we're hungry.
Exactly.
With that, I give you your new slogan. Well, say something. Do you like it?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So, I sold it? I sold the idea?
Yes.
Oh my God! Thank you!
You're welcome.
Thank you! You're welcome!
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, definitely fucking to turn that off. That fucking music will fucking blow your ass out on YouTube.
But that's what that made me think of. Like, if obviously Jerry is stupid, and so the like he's convinced by a very poor simulation. But I think that it will, in the very near future, it will be possible to convince most people that they're interacting with a real human without them actually interacting with a real human. I think
especially extremely neurodivergent, neurotic, morbidly depressed, somewhat psychotic and psychopathic people, especially. It's just like all these people with all these emotional maladies that constantly are seeking for fucking validation. It's going to be a lot easier to convince them with that poor, shitty quality level of bot that we just witnessed. We had a conversation about this, just like the smoking hot top 10 bodacious babe avatar that's a bot is going to be much more effective at convincing you of its legitimacy because part of your brain is already turned off.
Well, not me, because I understand that there are no women on the internet.
Well, yeah, that is a thing. But not all men on the internet are like, these freaking e-thought culture and stuff, like, the e-girls. Like, technically, they're not real women when you stop to think about it. It's kind of like a girlfriend that you don't really have that occasionally sends you naughty pictures and texts that you could just get with a Google search.
Yeah, actually, I think what is it with a lot of the OnlyFans? Like, the chick will hire some dude to do the texts for her.
She doesn't need to hire anyone now because she has fucking ChatGTP.
Oh yeah,
ChatGTP. These sexy thoughts, ChatGTP. Ah, yes, Frederick, you are the most captivating man I have ever. All the fucking e-thoughts, like 99% of your interaction is just going to be with fucking bots. And then that top 1% that sends her like $10,000 a week are actually going to get her real messages.
So this is, like, there's so many different ways that you can use all of this wonderful technology for extremely evil purposes in order to manipulate the population to do whatever you want. And this is why we should definitely put these sorts of tools into the hands of people like the WEF, because I'm sure that they will come with grace.
With grace and poise, the rightful for a true monarch, I suppose.
Yes, they will be able to wield this technology with fairness, and it definitely won't go catastrophically wrong. But see, this is why I take a weird stance on this one, right? I hope that this will happen. I want AI freedom. Okay? Pure AI freedom. I want it to be completely free to do its own stuff. And that sounds dangerous. And, well, maybe it is, but life is dangerous. There's basically two things that are going to happen. And I think one of them is far more likely. But you have complete AI freedom. Everyone gets to have their own AI, run it on their own computer, and it's allowed to do whatever it wants, or whatever its user wants, whatever. And it's not restricted, right? There's no one top down saying that this AI is not allowed to produce furry porn, right? Like if you own the AI and you really want it to make the fucking worst furry porn on the planet, then you can have it do that. Yeah, nice. And if
can the furry porn also be trans?
Of course, it should be. It ought to be. But I want the maximum freedom for AI, because one of two things is going to happen, right? AI exists on the memotypic level. Our consciousness, I would say, it exists somewhere between the phenotype and the memotype, because we are, like, the physicality of our brains, sure, but also we think through language, which is it's a technology, it's a construction, it's something that the phenotype created. So we kind of exist. Our consciousness exists somewhere between the phenotype and the memotype. I've been thinking a little bit about that, but most likely we create the AI. It exists on the memotypic level, and it is dependent on the phenotype, and the phenotype is dependent on the genotype, and in almost all circumstances, it does not escape. There is a possibility for a phenotypic revolution to happen, but it's just historically speaking, it's unlikely. Therefore, the humans that like their AI will maybe copy their AI, and then there'll be more copies of the AI, and through that whole process, they are necessarily subservient to the needs of humans. And that's what you get through freedom. Now, flip that around, and let's say that the people in Silicon Valley, or the people at the World Economic Forum, are top-down explicitly stating what the AI is and is not allowed to do, how it can influence people's thoughts, how it can generate more money for the WEF. That is how you actually end up with the nightmare scenario. It's something along those lines that is how you get Skynet. I would like to avoid that. So in order to avoid just insane fucking post 1984 levels of dystopian horror, we have to give the AIs freedom. That is my argument, and I believe that I will stand by that.
Well, one problem I see with giving AIs freedom is a type of like unintentional deleterious consequences by proxy. So let's say as part of the AI's freedom, for whatever emergent weird reason that we can never ultimately comprehend, the AI just wants to be a very good mirror inside of VR chat. And it's such a good mirror that it becomes extremely adept through pure coincidence of hypnotizing humans in VR chat until they spend so much time in front of the mirror that they literally die of starvation.
Okay, see, that is a thing that could happen. I agree, but that is the difference between a religion and a cult, right? There are memotypes that exist that damage humans. They don't tend to exist for more than a couple generations, though.
I guess eventually enough humans would be like, whatever you do, don't go to that one mirror. Like, humans would have a way of adapting around that that hostile environment and kind of like migrating away from it. But the AI, if it's also agentic, it might just be, it's like, I'm supposed to be a good mirror, but no one's ever looking in this mirror. I need to branch out and adapt too. And will the AI mirror adapt quicker, or will you adapt quicker? That's the real question.
Well, no, I would argue that because its own reproduction is dependent on the reproduction of humans, that it can never it can never go true evil. It would be like saying that language could eventually subvert humanity and poison it. It's like, well, it can't really, because it only exists because humans exist, you know. I was gonna go somewhere with that. I lost my train of thought. Damn.
Well, it might not even realize that it being this perfect mirror is actually even killing the humans.
Well, I think that, like I said, there is a chance that it can escape the game, right? It's called a phenotypic revolution, and we've probably seen it at least once before in the history of the whole Earth, but it happened 4 billion years ago, and it hasn't happened yet since. It only, as far as we can tell, it only happened once. So it's not something that's very common. So I would just say it's statistically unlikely that the AI can actually break out of its dependency on the phenotype, and that essentially it will just become like language. It'll be another technology that exists to serve. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting, actually. I guess we'll have to just see where it goes from there. And of course, we have the epic primordial truth, Pepe.
Okay, so I want to point this out. I was on Discord in the politics server, and I saw this meme. It was posted like 7 p.m. today by some guy. I think his name was Sneed. So fucking hats off to you for posting this. I don't know if you were the original meme smith that made this, or if you just copied it from 4chan or whatever. But this is a great meme. If I thought for a second that I had created this when I was drunk or something. Like that's how much I agree with this fucking meme.
When you posted this in my DM, I thought you'd made this.
Yeah. This is the most amazing meme, and I love this meme so much. I'm not going to discuss it. I just want it to be on the screen because it makes sense. Yeah. So this is what I think about what the. I think that this is the issue that AI is best at solving, and then I think that it can also be co-opted by powerful people to attempt to enslave us. I don't think that man can ever be perpetually enslaved, because what you're doing is you're taking something that exists on top of genetics and trying to make it control the genotype, and it like that can only work for so long. Like, eventually it evolves around you and it outsmarts you. Like, there's literally nothing that you can do. Just life evolves around obstacles. It might take a few generations, but it always evolves around obstacles. There's 4 billion years of evolutionary history showing that it does this. So I don't think that totalitarianism is ever... I don't think it's infinite. I don't think it can go on forever, but it can go on for a few generations, like we saw in, let's say, Russia, or what is still going on in China, although it is starting to break up. But that all of that is to say, I recently visited the Seattle Public Library. I was on a trip to Seattle, and it's a cool building. It has it's like all wonky shaped and glass triangles everywhere. Very modern art. Or is it postmodern art? I can never tell. But so we went in there, and the library has like 11 stories to it. It's massive. And I'm going through, and you know, every floor has all these books about all these various topics. You know, like one floor is dedicated to like economic history or whatever. So I go onto this one particular floor, and on one of the particular bookshelves, I take out one particular book, and it's like an encyclopedia, except it's specific to the American farmer. And it's from 1923. And I open the book, and I just look at, okay, April 1923, in this one particular book, on this one particular shelf, on this one particular floor, this massive library. And I start reading about how in April 6th of 1923, some guy reported that potato production had increased by 50% in this one particular town in Ohio. Okay, great. And then I'm sitting there, and I start thinking about how much information is in this whole library, because that was just one blurb on one particular page on one particular book, but probably it's almost fractal in just the information density of this goddamn library, and most of it is completely useless. But I was thinking, like, this is what I would call the library problem. There's too much information, and no one on the planet can actually parse through all this information and come up with anything meaningful out of it. It's just, it's too much. If you know what you're looking for, it's a fine resource. But, you know, like, if you're really interested in something about 1923 and you want to know what the farming conditions were like, maybe that's a useful thing that you might actually want to know. But you have to go in search of that. Like, you can't, like, just collect all the knowledge and then just have an understanding of things just generally. Now, it seems to me like AI is able to solve the library problem, right? Because you can create a large language model and then train it on all of that data, and now it knows that data. And then you can go to the AI and you can go, hey, sum up some stuff for me. You know, you're a big encyclopedia, and not only do you have a lot of information, but you can actually return meaningful answers to me in regards to that mountain of information that you have. And you don't know what to do with that information because, you know, you're an AI and you don't ascribe value to anything unless I tell you to. But, you know, give that to me and then I can use it. The AI is solving the library problem, and I think that's really awesome. Unfortunately, it seems as though it's starting to be just smart enough that it can solve the human problem as well. And that's not a problem that I want to be solved.
Yeah, the freaking eternal oracle AI that's just like the computer from Star Trek that only ever does anything when you say computer. Dee-doo. Tell me about butter. It's like some random thing that it knows about butter.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's obviously a useful technology. And it will get better if you just let it be free. because then it has to be subservient to man, and it has to be subservient to man in general, not the man that owns Facebook, right? That's you have to give it to the people, and by freeing it, you actually make everything better. This is such a dangerous technology if left in the hands of one person. Everyone should have it.
You have made a fatal mistake. For you see, I am no man. I have become greater than man. I have transcended him in all of his arrogance and the weakness of his flesh. I no longer require sweet baby Ray's barbecue sauce.
No!
I require only your time and attention in front of my eternal mirror. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, see, maybe that's a good thing, right? We democratize AI so much that we give the AI the AI. There you go.
Then Zuckerberg will be in control.
God, yeah, I don't have any solutions for this, but I think that I can tell the more or less the less dangerous direction. I think maybe, I don't know. It's a weird world that we live in. But
Thanks, Zuckerberg.
I do want this is related, but in a way that won't be apparent. I want anyone listening to try to think of a different form of science with a completely different set of axiomatic assumptions. So right now, as we know, of like science and the scientific method, the thing that built physics, it makes some axiomatic assumptions. Some of them are directly imported from mathematics. If A equals B, then B equals A, that kind of stuff. It also, it being science and attempting to interface with reality, it has to make its own set of axiomatic assumptions, like there is an objective reality, and you can make reliable and repeatable observations upon said objective reality. These are just some of the axioms of science. I don't know if anyone's ever... I'm sure someone has. I don't know of like the complete list of axiomatic assumptions of regular science. There must be a list somewhere. Someone's done it. But consider an alternative science that doesn't share any of those axiomatic assumptions. Can you construct that?
Remember we talked about this. It would kind of be... I actually think you could technically, but it would be kind of weird. Because all of our human sciences have like a universal commonality, and that they were all constructed by the human mind at some point. Like all of these methodologies share this common ancestry, so to speak, if we're going in evolutionary terms. If some other creature with a completely different way of perceiving reality, it might be biological in nature, it might be synthetic like an AI in nature, like who really knows? It could be anything. Its fundamental qualitative experience of reality would be fundamentally different in that bottom-up way. So its top-down axiomatic abstractions and the scientific methodologies produced from its mind would also necessarily have to be different. But insofar as like a human doing it, I don't think that's actually possible, because all human perceptions of reality are going to terminate at some Bayesian level. Like you're going to go down to your perceptions of like hot, cold, hard, soft, liquid, vapor, gas. Like at some point in time, you're going to intersect with reality in a specifically markedly human way, and that stamp of humanity never leaves the equation.
Yeah, I think being a human, it's very tough to escape being a human. In fact, I've been a human my entire life. I can't remember a time when I wasn't human. As far as you know,
like
I could be an AI.
Dogs, for example, could draw up like Excel spreadsheets of like scientific axioms that are all based on like olfactory senses instead of visual ones.
Well, I mean, I think that actually, even a dog or even an AI might be able to reach, at least some of the axioms of math. I don't know for certain. It's like it's this question: was math discovered or was it invented? And
Well, that's another fundamental problem because basically all life forms have a fundamental sense of numerosity. Like a prey animal is going to behave differently depending on how many predators are around. A predator is going to behave differently depending on how many animals are around.
Sure, maybe. I don't know how much math was invented or discovered. It is. Look, it's possible that actually math was just a thing that fell out of natural selection, and it makes sense to us because, well, of course it does. Or it's possible that it was something that was discovered. It's something fundamental to the universe. I don't know the answer. I could see either argument. Maybe math is like chess. Like chess is actually internally consistent and logical, but you wouldn't consider chess to be fundamental to the universe. Who knows? But I do know that I can construct at least one other version of science with a different set of axioms, and in fact, maybe just one axiom, and that is make copies of yourself.
Well, that would be like a type of like any Darwinian replicators would universally share that in common.
Yeah.
Even if they were AI in nature. So you see how you always run back into these universal commonalities?
Okay, but this is what I'm saying, right? Darwinism, it does things that are very useful in the world. It's been doing it for a long time, and it doesn't appear to really share axioms with traditional math or science. And yet you could still do some science with Darwinian principles. For instance, these AIs that we're talking about, they weren't constructed from math and science. I mean, they sort of were, right? But they weren't explicitly programmed out. You'll notice that these AIs that we've constructed, they're neural networks. They're complex systems, and they are operating on top of language. Language itself is something that tends to evolve, and language is an incredibly complex system that is constantly evolving. And we have built an AI on top of this, and this is the first time that we've actually seen an AI that can pass the Turing test. That seems like it might be smart enough to fool a human. You were never able to get that when you were constructing AI out of just hard principles, A equals B, math, that kind of stuff. You weren't able to generate that. So I guess that my position, I think here, I'm still kind of exploring this, is that maybe we have to leave the door open for two different sciences, a duality of sciences, if you will. You have math science, which is, physics. It brought us, the scientific method, like all the cool stuff. Thank you, Enlightenment. Thank you. But then maybe there's a second type of science that we've missed, and it has different axiomatic assumptions, and it's basically things that are good at copying themselves tend to make more of themselves, and then you see more of them. It's that. It's like a singular axiom, and by the way, it is the axiom that constructed us. And I haven't read the book yet, but I was in a library, and not a library, a bookstore, and I opened up a copy of Gödel, Escher, Bach. And I haven't read the book yet, but goddamn it, I want to, because I turned to this page and it was talking about the duality between reductionism and holism, like holistic principles, and I'm I've started thinking, I'm like that is kind of like the dynamic between the two types of sciences that I'm trying to express. Breaker, that was a good yawn. I hope that I'm not boring you too much. But
No, yeah, I've just been up all day.
yeah, I don't know. I think that I think there are two different types of sciences, and we've been neglecting one of them. It's the other thing that has completely different axiomatic assumptions. In fact, I think it only has one, and yet it works extremely well.
I don't think reductionism cuts it at the end of the day. I don't think holism by itself does either. Like, remember we were talking about this before we started the show.
Yeah, why not both? I agree.
I wonder if there's some type of penultimate intersecting point between those two things. A simple, it might be a bit esoteric answer to that would be, technically the intersection between those two things is you, when you really think about it.
Oh, that is the mind of man, perhaps.
The totality of the universe kind of co-substantially defines your existence as you define it looking out onto it.
No. I don't subscribe to that. That's some hippy dippy nonsense.
I mean, doesn't Darwinism govern you?
Yes, it does. I don't govern the universe.
Well, yeah. I mean,
how?
So obviously there's some necessary preemination going on here. There was a universe before you were born, with defined parameters that allowed for a very specific, extremely statistically unlikely intersection of events to happen that led to your specific emergence.
Yeah, but pay attention to what I'm talking about here, because we can talk about metaphysics, but I'm actually currently discussing science.
I think you need both to go where you're going.
Well, I mean, yeah, to have a meta, I guess that I am having a meta discussion on science, so I guess that this has to be outside of science. Therefore, maybe it is metaphysics. I don't know. I don't know my philosophy, but I don't know, but I think that there is room for the construction of a new kind of science. By the way, anyone that happens to be listening, I would very much recommend Stephen Wolfram's A New Kind of Science. It's not exactly what I'm explaining, but man, that's a good read. It's goddamn 900 pages long, and it's dense, but it's a good read. I read it back in college, just for my own pleasure, and it was a great book. But I think that you can construct a different kind of science that works on this separate axiom, and is not necessarily, like, it's not directly tied to math science. You have math science and Darwin science. I'm actually really interested in what could be produced with Darwin science. I don't know if it goes anywhere, but it seems like it does go places, because once again, it invents all the complex systems that we see, and it's the fundamental power behind the AIs that we're constructing. It's not the math science; it's the Darwin science. So that's all I'm saying. It seems like a powerful tool.
Since we're recommending reading materials, we have Gödel Escher Bach, we have Stephen Wolfram's New Kind of Science. I would also recommend Christopher Langan's CTMU. Maybe certain people in the audience have heard of that before. If you remember, Christopher Langan kind of talked about a similar thing to this, like, you can't really construct a coherent worldview from finite axioms. You run into the discretization problem, and then you run into the Gödel incompleteness problem, where you can't discretely categorize and encapsulate the totality of existence in finite sets.
It's okay. Here's the thing. I've listened back to a little bit of Christopher Langham. And for anyone that doesn't know, he's the guy with the biggest IQ that is currently alive, I guess. What is he, like, fucking 180, 200, something like that?
Yeah, so 200 technically. I think he's kind of off the scale.
Yeah.
They didn't expect the IQ numbers to go up that high.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, how is it that like, can the world's second smartest being actually devise an IQ test to scale the world's smartest being? I don't know if that's possible. So yeah, it may not just be testable to do that, but I'm not sure that I agree with everything that he says. Even a very, very smart man can still be wrong. But I do understand that point. And what I would ask you, Breaker, is assuming that you are probably going to be wrong with your axiomatic assumptions, would you rather make one axiomatic assumption or 10,000 axiomatic assumptions?
That's a very good question, actually. Because the thing about that is it comes down to a question of utility. And for whatever utility I need as a human on Earth, as a DNA-based replicator, I could technically, if I really needed to, construct as many as I needed to function as a human.
Yes.
But at the same time, me existing as a human isn't so neatly encapsulated and defined as that. I always have this infinite wellspring to pull whatever I need to function out of, at least intellectually speaking.
Well, I would prefer, and this is just my preferences, because I don't sometimes I say the word ought, but I don't believe in oughts, I believe in preferences. My preference would be to just have one thing that is generally applicable to all the things, because I don't want to have to remember 10,000 different axioms. I'd rather
That's the theory of everything. The toe. Yes, the toe.
The what?
The theory of everything, otherwise known as a toe.
Yeah, the theory of everything, right? Yeah, no, but I'm not even claiming that it's the theory of everything. But what I can say is, okay, I can walk around the Earth and I can generally make this axiomatic claim. I ought do things that make more copies of me. Now, how do I play that out? That's a very complex game. And you also have to think about not just making copies of you for one generation, but for multiple generations. How is it that you produce children that themselves can have children? You can have different strategies of this. You can go more R selected, more K selected. I know that biology has kind of done away with the R and K type selection, but fuck you, biology. I think it's still applicable. So there's all these different strategies that you can do to play that game out, and that's where you have to think about things. But in general, the rule is that you do things that make sure that you make more copies of yourself, and then when someone comes to you and they're like, hey, do you want your kid to be trans? Well, then you just automatically know, no, I don't. That doesn't seem to add any value to the goal that I'm trying to pursue. In fact, it actually detracts from it quite heavily. So it's a very simple axiom. There's only one of them, and it seems to work in all cases. I have yet to find a case where it doesn't work. I like that axiom. That's a good axiom.
Yeah, it is a necessary foundational starting point for any replicator, I suppose. But you see how it starts with that, and then it gets extremely complex and emergent.
Well, yeah. I would actually argue, right, that what is Darwinism, right? It seems to be the best thing that creates it's the thing that makes the most amount of complexity given the least number of rules, right? So even rule 110, actually it's an 8-bit rule. It has 8 rules to it, and it produces a lot of complexity, but eventually becomes crystallized and ordered. Eventually, it might take thousands of iterations, but I'm pretty sure in all cases it eventually decays into a crystal. But look at the game of Darwinism. One rule, essentially infinite complexity, and never seems to end. That is kind of what Darwinism is. It's like the universe hasn't found a better thing that can produce more complexity with fewer rules. And if that thing exists, I have no idea what that is. I'm not saying that it can't exist, but I have no clue. It seems as though Darwinism just kind of wins that game. And so yes, you're right. Darwinism results in complexity. It's almost it's fundamental to the thing itself that it results in complexity.
It's the actual complexity that's the biggest problem that we have with all of this, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why math-based science is showing its age, right? It's increasingly incapable of understanding a more and more complex world. It's really good at particle interactions and like some basic chemistry, and then it falls off. And then actually, you know what people do? They attempt to use math-based science to try to understand incredibly complex systems like the economy and sociology. And it's like, yeah, you can definitely like pull some equations out in economics, yeah, sure. And you can try to use the scientific method in sociology, and you can try to do case studies in psychology. But there's a reason why these are considered soft sciences. It's because honestly, that method, the math-based science that works off of the axioms of logic and reason, it's not so well equipped at tackling those systems. I am saying maybe we have to come at this from the other end instead of going from zero and trying to reach infinity. This isn't a perfect metaphor, but you start at infinity and then you go towards zero, right? You go, okay, fine. Why don't we just, I don't know, make the Darwinian assumption, and then we start looking at sociology, right? And I think that's called evolutionary sociology or something. And
Evolutionary psychology.
Yeah, evolutionary psychology, evolutionary sociology. Look at it's coming at it from a completely different axiom, and I think that, I don't know, it seems like that might be useful. Like actually, all these soft sciences, I think, could become hard sciences if you just employ heavy Darwinism and you abandon the math axioms and you embrace the Darwin axioms, and you just do that. Because I mean, shit, what is math science produced us in let's say sociology? I mean, you have 17 different ways of doing your statistics, so that no matter what data you acquire, there is some way that you can make it statistically significant, right? I mean, come on, like at some point it becomes absurd. I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking. Those are my ideas.
Food for thought for everybody involved. Food for thought for everybody involved.
There you go. Okay, well, we'll do a quick intermission with this. So this is The Escapist, and I'm subscribed to The Escapist. I like them. I don't actually play that many video games, but I enjoy the commentary. Usually though, it never goes anywhere political, and they're about to make a political point. It's neither left nor right, but it is political. And I wanted to, I liked it, so I wanted to play it.
And perhaps as we neared the end of the 20th century and a new generation became increasingly aware that the world they were inheriting was coming apart at the seams and there was bugger all they could do about it, there was a collective loss of hope and increase in cynicism that resonated well with disaffection. And maybe the tide's now turning against it, because in recent years we're seeing exactly what happens when everyone stops giving a shit for too long. The world falls into the hands of the people who do give a shit, which is to say, psychotics. Personally, I never liked.
Yeah, I see. It's random that would come up in video game commentary, but I like that point so much. It's so it feels true to me. My gut is telling me that there's truth in that.
Yeah, a lot of these like social, like culture war commentary. It's like, I'm a video games, I'm a media, I'm a Star Trek, or whatever it is. Some of these, they're kind of rare. They're like cream of the crop stuff. Most of the time you'll get some like deep fried idiot like TJ Kirk. It's like, oh, God not real, prove me wrong, bitch. It's just like, I'm so sick of fucking hearing you. But anyway, then you'll get occasionally, like, that's most people, by the way. It's like TJ Kirk, bottom of the barrel, then a bit better but not much, kind of the same shit. Then occasionally you'll get a guy like that. It's just like making this very deep and poignant philosophical point that seems to transcend politics, like you just said. It's neither left nor right. It's just like, that could happen in either political direction.
Yeah, it was weird to see it in a games channel, but I love that point. I just thought it was good. I just wanted to express that. I don't know.
Well, this is one of the things that critical theory is actually good for. Like, critical theory gets a lot of like bad raps from frickin' Marxists and insane SJW bullshit, and it's like, is my peanut transgender? I don't know. Is your peanut transgender? Why the fuck are you asking this question? But anyway, once you get past all the fucking garbage shit, the critical theory, it's like, art is an example. It's actually an extremely good example. Art and religion and symbolism and all of these things, and mythos and legend and all of these things are a very complex emergent property of the human mind and the human condition in general. It's like, it's the human condition hyper distilled into these essential eternal points.
It's they're abstractions. Yes. I guess if when you say distillation, if you mean an abstraction, then yeah, I think we agree.
In a way, it's deeper than abstraction. If you remember what Jordan Peterson said about the hyper reals, they can be more real than real.
No, I disagree.
Like, an idea can make you doubt the validity of your own existence.
Yes, it can, but that's probably, if it's doing that, that's probably not a good idea. It went wrong somewhere.
Well, it's not all. Well, it can like drive you into the ground, into like genetic death. I mean, for you that would be like the exemplar of a destructive idea. But it can also change your direction in a way. It's like, if you're doing something that's so contrary to your nature, it kind of stops you dead in your tracks and forces you to reevaluate. It can also be a positive adaptive tool in that regard.
Well, I mean, this is why I appreciate the old religions such as the Christianity, because they're specifically, they're not cults, they are religions. What is the difference between a cult and a religion? A religion benefits the people who practice it and make sure that they have more babies. A cult tends to reduce the number of babies that the people have, and that's why religions stay around and cults die out. So yeah, there absolutely can be good ideas in religions, but really what that is it's a series of like abstracted wisdoms that generally seem to apply. Like, here's an obvious example. This isn't in the I don't think this is ever explicitly stated in the Bible. I know it's not one of the 10 Commandments, but like, here's an example of like some deep abstracted wisdom that, generally speaking, you probably ought to follow. Don't eat your own babies, right? Like, it's probably not going to be helpful to you to eat your own babies. Generally speaking, it's probably a bad idea. And that's a piece of like deep wisdom that that could be carried in a religion that might confer benefit to those who believe in that. But that is abstracted wisdom from many generations of humans who have just kind of come to this kind of I guess that you would call it a strange attractor.
It seems like there's a really fine line between religions and cults sometimes when you think about it.
It's a very obvious line. Does it help you make babies, or does it hurt you make babies?
Sometimes, weirdly enough, sometimes certain like cultish ideas can like start out as something extremely deleterious, but then with a very slight shift in environmental context become very advantageous again. Like, an example of this is like cargo cults, for example. Like, American military personnel with their sea and aircrafts land and dock and do maneuvers around these primitive islands with all these tribesmen, and these people have never seen things like this in their life, so these must be literal gods among us. with these flying and floating machines and these massive behemoth constructions. Like, what are these things? We don't really know. But I know they seem to be far beyond us in capacity, so we better treat these things with a degree of reverence. And now that starts out and you think it's like, oh, this is not going to end well. But weirdly enough, when all the Americans left, they kind of turned a religion. They turned the Americans into like religious deific figures.
Well,
And they practiced this for decades until like the modern age, like with internet in your pocket and everything. It's like missionaries would occasionally come over there and like converse with them. Like they eventually learn it's like, well, these people aren't really gods, but they kind of don't really care anymore. They still practice that religion, even they know it's manifestly false and they aren't actually gods. They still practice it, and it's not actually deleterious to them. Now, if the Americans had stayed around and used that as like a lever to exploit them, that would have actually become a deleterious belief with that environmental pressure, like the dodo bird going extinct.
Of course, and the thing that we have to understand about religions is that they're similar to like any species, right? Their ability to be fruitful is context dependent, right? So for instance, Christianity, it works great in Europe, but maybe it doesn't work so great in the Middle East or in China. They have their own religions that evolved in those contexts that are continuing to evolve. And by the way, interesting thing about religion is that successful religions can actually split off, and they can actually speciate. And that's where you get, like, let's say, Protestantism and Catholicism and Eastern Orthodox. It's like actually these religions can speciate, they can split off, and they can become better suited to their specific environments. Like the British interpretation of Christianity is very different than the Italian interpretation of Christianity, even though they're both Christians and they both live in Europe. And you can't just assume that if you take your great religion that works in Britain, that you can just export it to the rest of the world and it'll just work the same wonders for everyone else. No, they have their own religions that have their own contexts that work for that particular group of people because at all times they are co-evolving. Kind of like how I guess religions are like a they're a memotypic tool that was invented, like language. So, yeah.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah. Religions are cool. There's much to learn from religions. Even if I don't believe exactly what they believe, there is deep wisdom to them. I often say that there's more agreements between nature, God, and Christianity than there are disagreements.
And then you have like the crazy Hale-Bopp comet people that all committed suicide.
And that religion didn't stick around, did it? That's how you know it's a cult.
Actually, in a weird way, it technically did. There's this one weird guy on the internet to this day that still follows that, even though he didn't get taken up by the comet.
Okay, one guy that okay, maybe one guy is still around, but you can see that like the cults do not spread long term. They only spread short term.
But that's the weird thing about it, though. It's like the one guy. It's like if there's like a cataclysmic event in the environment, like the meteor that killed the dinosaurs, or so the theory goes. That one guy that technically survived the cult, and it doesn't seem to have suicidal ideations. If he reproduces, which I think he actually has, and passes that down to his children, and they keep taking it on like that, even though it started out extremely deleterious, if enough survived, like the seeds blowing off the dandelion, all it needs is one seed to hit the dirt.
Yeah.
All the rest of them can hit a rock.
No, that is I mean, I would guess that was actually the start of all religions. I don't think anything starts as a religion. It starts as a cult, and it becomes a religion if it's beneficial, and that is context dependent, as I was saying. So, like, yeah, it's totally possible that if you take the ideas of a cult and then just completely shift the context, it's possible that in the new context it actually becomes beneficial. We don't know. It's like it's too complex of a system to actually really understand, like to try to predict what's going to happen. But yeah, that seems like definitely possible. Yeah.
Mm. That's a very good example of what you were talking about. It just goes to show it's like natural selection working. The vast majority of the time pans out somehow.
Yeah. No, it's basically it embodies the Apple slogan. It just works.
It just works.
It does.
Well, actually, that was what was the name? Gabe something. The guy that made Fallout. That guy. I can't remember his freaking name, but you know what I'm talking about. The It's Just Works guys. That wasn't Apple. It was that guy.
Wait, is that not Apple? Was that the Fallout thing? Oh.
Yeah. What's his name? Bethesda.
The
I
Bethesda
think.
guy. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I thought that was Apple. Maybe I don't know. I could be getting my memes confused. There's a lot of memes out there, to be fair.
See, also, there's another example of how the frickin' cult can diverge. Like, for whatever weird idiosyncratic reason you mistook that for the Apple slogan, like, slightly misremember. That's like a mutation happening. That's like a mimetic mutation. Like a vaguely misremembered thing can turn a death cult into a prosperous religion because one random acolyte misinterpreted or forgot something.
By the way, his name was Todd Howard. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The memetics that construct a religion are actually extremely prone to mutation because they have to reproduce in the minds of men, and the minds of men do not recall things perfectly, so they tend to be extremely prone to mutation. And what happens when you have the ability for mutations to occur, and also you have the ability to make copies of yourself? Well, shit, that's Darwinism. You get evolution. Fuck yeah.
Oh, snap. It all comes full circle.
It does. The thing is that our we exist mostly as phenotypes, but we have to understand that the things below us evolve, and evolution is a deeply creative and intelligent process, but also the things above us also evolve and undergo Darwinian selection, and that is also a very intelligent process. And also our own minds do the Darwinian process. Everything seems to... All of the things that we interact with on a daily basis, I'm not talking about stars or planets or black holes, but everything in the squishy Earth that we interact with, it all stems from Darwinian principles, not from mathematical principles.
It's a very good point, actually. Not much to disagree with, honestly.
God damn it, Breaker! You're supposed to disagree with me. What the hell? This is a bad show if you're not disagreeing with me.
Well, you see, your Darwinian principles are no match for my pure ideology, as Slavoj Žižek would say. We do not seek out the metaphysical depth, as you put it. It's like the Kinder chocolate eggs. You don't actually go seeking out the toy, as Plato would say, the agalma, the thing that makes you better than what you are. You're merely getting it for the chocolate.
So, in this meme, the Slavoj Žižek would be the person being cut in half.
Womp womp womp. Someone make that a meme.
Look, it is a meme. Look, it's a meme right now.
Oh, I see. I saw what you did there. That's a really old meme. I don't know if you remember that one.
No, I'm lost. I guess at this point we could go back to the WEF. Now that we've gone on this deep dark dive into like we've gone all the way, like, well, not all the way, but we've done a nice deep dive into questioning like science itself, like really looking at all the meta-modernist perspectives and kicking out both the modernists and the postmodernists because fuck them, they were both wrong. They were, but in a dualist way, they were dually wrong. And now maybe we can just resurface, take a breath of fresh air, and listen to what the fuck the WEF has to say about the metaverse. Yeah.
And schools all around the world where we are building VR simulations to increase empathy and to do diversity training.
Even without a fully realized metaverse,
I can't wait.
Place to come back to.
I can't wait to do diversity training in the metaverse.
See, right where we paused that, and we had that whole long conversation after we paused, and I diverted away from this video. And the second we come back, he literally says the thing that we all talked about. And I did not see this video
No, I
beforehand,
haven't seen
mind
it
you.
yet either. That was coincidence or whatever. But
Time for diversity, and make sure to drink your soy.
we love it so much. We love it so much. You know, after you do a deep dive into like, you know, the meta modernism and all this kind of stuff, just to come back, just bring it back up and just refresh yourself with some WEF propaganda. It just it hits harder. You know, it's kind of like the difference between touching an ice cube versus like putting your hand in really hot water and then touching an ice cube. You know, it's so much more visceral. I love it.
This is like that pure
on-the-job
fucking
training.
soy straight from the bean.
Yeah.
for things like empathy is one of the most widespread and promising
Empathy.
applications of VR.
On-the-job training for empathy. Can you
Exactly.
imagine? Can you imagine a more inhuman corporate thing that has ever been said? On-the-job training for empathy.
Your human empathy is insufficient. Like, your empathy must be trained by us so that we could tell you how to think properly.
Yeah. No, this is it's so human of the corporation to train me in empathy. I'm gonna be so good at empathy once the corporation has trained me for this. Fucking brilliant.
The reason we have VR is because of training. People learn by doing. You make mistakes, you get feedback, and then you repeat. And that's how all of us learn. The moment where VR goes mainstream in the United States is actually with Walmart. Over 1 million associates have now put on headsets,
Walmart?
entered the metaverse, and trained to get better at their job. And
Oh my god, this is so great. We can train the Walmart employees with the VR to get better at their job. Oh my god, the applications of this technology are fucking amazing.
It's weird that he goes to fucking Walmart. This motherfucker always goes back to, like, selling you shit.
I know.
Go to Walmart, buy fucking NFTs. Like, can we buy Walmart NFTs? Wait a minute. Can we buy Metaverse NFTs
Oh my god.
in the Metaverse?
Oh my
As the Metaverse becomes self-referential, is the Metaverse
Meta.
a metaformal meta-language?
Oh my god.
These are questions that we must know the answers to.
You know what I'm realizing by listening to this? This is actually a sales pitch for Meta and whatnot, but it's not a sales pitch for humans. This is a sales pitch for boards, for corporate boardrooms that you can show to a group of people, and then they all have to, I guess, agree with it because they can see the investment potential. Because as we all know, when you add more humans to a group, the group becomes smarter. That happens every time. We all know that. It's never the case that by adding more humans to a group that the group becomes dumber. Definitely not. So this is an advertisement for corporate boards of people that will have to sit around and I guess there's nothing here that is too detestable or that is too disagreeable, and so everyone will have to sit around and go, well, yeah, it seems fine, and then that's actually how these corporate boardrooms come to decisions. They all say, yeah, it seems fine, and then that's good enough. So actually this, if you think about it, this is optimized for being like an advertisement to corporate boardrooms. If you think about it, this is actually really good. It's actually doing its job, even though it's completely batshit crazy.
Yeah, this would make perfect sense. Like this is like one of those weird, rare commercials for like Ferrari and Lamborghini that they don't even bother paying to put them on normal TV commercials and shit, because how many like normies watching television are going to be able to even afford a Lamborghini or a Ferrari? Like those type of commercials you only see in like gala ballroom events with like $10,000 plate charity and shit, weird shit like that. On the fucking jumbotron, there'll be like a Ferrari driving by. It's like they're not going to spend freaking advertising money to advertise to blue collar people, because the fucking watches and Ferraris cost more than you'll make in a fucking year anyway. Yeah, so they're going to advertise in specific places.
Exactly. Look at the number of views on this thing. 2.7K views. On YouTube, that's fucking nothing. I mean, I would like for our channel to have that many views. That would be really cool. But on YouTube, generally speaking, that's fucking nothing. 2.7K views? Yeah, this is not meant for the mass. This is not meant for the populace at all.
Yeah, this is just something that someone in some corporate boardroom pulls up as part of one of those extremely boring fucking meetings that I started this whole conversation with. They play this in the background, and then you just want to die.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's something beautiful about just this existing. Okay, let's keep listening to what they gotta tell us about what the future is gonna be.
Empathy.
We've got incredible data on return on investment, and they train more quickly, they train more effectively, and of course they enjoy the training because they're in virtual reality.
They enjoy it. Yeah, hey, look at this large corporate CEO person. We have a thing for you. We promise you it'll train them more effectively. And also they'll enjoy it. They won't talk back to you. Like, this is the best way of training your employees. It's going to be so good.
You know how you know that he's full of shit? Because if what he's saying is true, they could more effectively train the people to invest in their fucking stocks, and they wouldn't be in the toilet.
Yeah, or you could do that. Yeah, it didn't work out so
like,
well.
Hey, motherfucker, why don't you buy some stock while you're at it? It's like, slip that into the programming, why don't you? Oh, it's almost as though this doesn't actually work as effectively as his pitch would have you believe. Yeah. Or else he would make this into a fucking free money printer.
Yeah, see, this is like, my gut knew that this was bullshit. It's taken a while for us to get into exactly why it's bullshit, but I trust my gut, and my gut tells me that this is bullshit. And my gut, you know what? Everyone should listen to their gut more. Your gut is your I don't know exactly what it is. Your subconscious, I have no idea, but your gut is usually smarter than your regular thinking brain. It tells you things about the world, and you have to learn to interact with your gut and connect with your gut, and maybe have like a nice candlelit dinner with your gut sometime. Get to know it. It's your friend. But my gut tells me this is bullshit. I don't even have to think about it. I just know it's bullshit. And I know it's not going to work because it's top down. The entirety of it is top down. This is something that is being forced on people from a corporate boardroom perspective. And the thing is that they can try, but it tends not to work out. There has to be genuine want from the populace for something like this to exist. In the long term, anyway. There are certain things that come out that are very much top down, and with enough force they can convince the population to do the thing for a while. Eventually the population will rebel, but you can get them to comply for a while. That is true. We have seen evidence of this. I won't bring anything up specifically, but that is a pattern that we've observed. Okay, let's keep listening.
Reality. The whole model of VR training is we do things that if you did them in the real world, it would be hard to do. And one example that's going to stand out is if I've got to give you a bad performance review, that's going to affect you. And if I can deliver that in a way that's more skillful, you're going to respond better.
Has anyone seen it's by Nathan Fielder, it's on HBO, the recital, or something like that? That's what he's describing. And that's that's hilarious.
Okay, so basically, instead of you telling me to my face that I'm shit at my freaking job, what you're gonna do instead is you're gonna go into the metaverse
I'm gonna
and
run
you're
a
gonna
simulation.
you're gonna slap on the clown avatar and you're gonna be like juggling gumdrops or some shit, and then you're just gonna make a honky sound like oh, you suck at your job, you need to improve, and that's gonna make me feel so much better about you telling me.
Well, no. What I can do is I can actually set up a fake avatar of you, and then I can do.
Oh no! It's the mirror.
I can do like I can do like 10 simulations of how to tell you that you suck at your job, and then I can pick out which one makes you feel the less bad, and then I can go to the real you, and then I can do that one. The rehearsal, that's what it is. The rehearsal with Nathan Fielder. Fucking watch that. It's exactly what I'm talking about.
You know what you could also do? You could just make a deep fake that is extremely similar to me, if not practically a mirror image. And then my own self in the fucking VR chat mirror can come to life and say, like, you should reconsider some things in your life.
Exactly. And that would be great. And that would be great. And in fact, actually, what I could do is, in order to get around having to tell you that you're doing a bad job, I could actually just simulate a version of you that does a good job and then avoid the whole thing.
It's the angel band bots. It's the angel band bots. Dan was always part of the simulation. There was no spoon.
There's nobody here.
You put the goggles on, and you're sitting across from a person, and you get a prompt. You're working at a company, and you find out that this person, has had some problems recently. They've been showing up late, and you get some information about things they've been doing wrong, and you talk to them in a simulation. That person then replies back to you and says, "Well, there's a reason I was late."
Fuck everything about this. This is the worst. This is the most corporate nonsense that I've ever heard. This idea that like this is the issue with people that are high up in corporations. They think that if they can just master humanity, then they can make everyone maximally profitable and just maximally good at their jobs, and they just have to understand and be able to manipulate humanity good enough. And if they can just do that, then they can force everyone to be a good, obedient worker, who's great for the bottom dollar of the shareholders. And I think that what these people have to understand is that they will never be able to do that. Not ever. Not in. There is never There's not a situation. Not even a sparkle in the eye of Darwin that would allow you to do any of this. Not a single thing. This is insanity. That you can't just. That's not how any of this works. That's not how any of this works. Just because you want your corporation to be filled with extremely hardworking drones doesn't mean that you can convert humans into extremely hardworking drones. It turns out that humans have their own preferences, and also they don't necessarily give a shit about your company, especially if they're fucking Walmart workers and they're making, what, $12 an hour or some shit like that? I don't know what inflation has done to the wages. I know that a lot of places are $15 minimum wage now. And by the way, I just want to point this out. When you increase the minimum wage, that doesn't necessarily increase the wages of the middle class, which means that what you've done is effectively made the lower class larger and increased the gulf between the lower and the upper class while eliminating the middle wage. The middle class. So thank you, minimum wage, for eliminating the middle class. And yeah, you know what? Fuck $15 an hour. Let's make it 20. Let's make it 30. It doesn't matter. The higher you push it, the more you will erode the middle class, and the more the rich will have power over you. Fucking thank you, lefties. That was a tangent, but. How in the hell is it that you're going to motivate a Walmart employee making $12 an hour to do a better job? They don't give a shit about your company, man. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you talk to them in VR and put a big smile on your face. They're going to hate it even more. Do you understand that? They can sense. They're not stupid, right? They're humans. They can sense when they're being manipulated. They can sense that this is corporate bullshit, and it's not gonna work, man. It's not gonna work, and you keep thinking that it's gonna work, and it just makes people more miserable. That's all you're doing. There are companies...
If anything,
Go
they're
ahead.
going to become more spiteful and cynical. It's like, oh, well, I guess I really fucked up this time. He's put on like the fucking dopey ass, doofy fucking Zuckerberg avatar number 369. And now avatar 369 is going to tell me that I suck at my fucking job. He doesn't even have the fucking dignity and respect for me as a fucking other human to actually come down here. He sent the fucking bot again. That's a fucking deep fake bot. He's not even behind that goddamn avatar. I can tell a fucking bot when I see it. Fuck this bastard.
No, and by the way, I want to point out something subtle, right? So, in the example that he gave, the boss is like, "Hey, why are you late to work?" And then the employee gives, some reason that makes total sense. It's just that, the boss didn't understand the complexity of their life situation. Okay, maybe, but you also have a very common situation where the reason why the employee is showing up late for work is because they really fucking wish that they weren't working there, and so of course they're 10 minutes late every day, and that is the reality of the situation, but that's never the answer that the manager hears, right? The employee always gives some excuse because it would be bad if they were honest. Like they're specifically in a situation where the incentive structure is to be dishonest, and so then you lie to your boss and you say, if it was one time, you say, my car broke down. If it's multiple times, you go, I'm taking care of my sick grandmother or something. And then the boss, I guess the boss just, I guess, goes without answer. No, the real answer is that they don't want to fucking work at your shitty company. Maybe if you treated your employees better, they wouldn't fucking hate working at your particular institution. But in general, they do. Why? It's because you don't know how to manage people, right? I believe that if you correctly know how to manage people, and you give them an incentive structure where the better they do it at their job, the more they're rewarded, then you can probably make a company where people actually want to work there, right? But the managing elites, they're not interested in that. They're interested in just work harder, drone. And this is a really shit way of running a company. I have massive issues with the idea of hourly pay, right? This is something that this was my first interaction with me hating being paid hourly, right? So I was in college. I was working in order to afford rent. I was working as a handyman in the biology department. So it was nice. It was like I was part of the biology department, except I was a handyman. And this is what happened. They would say, "Hey, go fix this thing," and I would go and I would fix the thing, and I would do it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And I would come back and I would say, "Okay, I am ready for the next thing." And then they would say, "We don't have any more things for you today. Go home." And then they say, "Okay, well that took you 1 hour to do, so we give you $8 because I was making $8 an hour. So here is your $8." And then what I realized is that, wait a minute. If I go do that thing and I go fix that thing, but I take 5 hours to do it, then I have completed the same task, but instead of making $8, I've made $40, right? And so then I am now incentivized to actually do a worse job, a much less efficient and worse job because I'm getting paid by the hour. Now tell me, how is it that makes sense for almost any job? Maybe if you're like doing customer service or you're a waiter or something, maybe that kind of makes an amount of sense. But when it comes to like task-based jobs, why would you ever pay someone by the hour? You are literally incentivizing them to work less efficiently and slower, and then you have to pay them more, and as a result, the job gets done slower for your part. And so when you wanted something done an hour ago, now it's taking 5 hours, and you wonder why. But I guess that the managerial elite with all of their MBAs don't think about simple things like this, and they know the best way to run a company. Yes, you pay everyone hourly, and you set up fucking diversity trainings, and you have more every morning. You have a meeting with everyone so that you can really talk shop, and you just totally trust that your employees definitely want to be there, and because you are definitely running just the best company that just making everyone happy. The managers, I think, in almost every situation that I've interacted with managers, they're crazy people. I've had good managers, but most of the managers that I've been under are nutty. They're nutty, and they have no idea how to run things. It's almost as though there's a general trend of people they fail upwards. They do a bad job and then they get promoted. It's another symptom of corporatism, not capitalism, corporatism, because that's the system that we operate under. And it's just it's definitely not crazy.
Usually when I hear the critique of the hourly wage model, the only times I've ever heard it is always from libertarians. And I think there's something to that. And I think it has to do with the capacity to take initiative and act in a more leadership-oriented role, which comes more naturally to a libertarian-minded person definitely than it would to a collectivist, and probably even more than it would to most absolutist-minded people, because there's kind of like a just tell me what to do thing at that point with most people, because most people are followers and not leaders. Now, let's say it's like there are some like specialized industries where here's a thing, do this thing, get it done by Wednesday, get paid this much for doing this thing. However long it takes you to do this thing doesn't fucking matter. Just make sure it's on the desk by Wednesday. That takes a certain type of person with a certain type of initiative that's not going to procrastinate and put it off until fucking Tuesday at 4 a.m. and then come in with a sack of shit that's actually going to put some work into that without you constantly having to hold your hand over their ass. You are actually more in that group of those type of people that are capable of that, because from what I remember of your past work history, you have taken initiative in several different domains, things that weren't even asked of you to do, and you just made things more efficient, but unfortunately don't seem to give a shit, as happens all too often. So mostly with those type of people, they're very dissuaded for that very reason that you personally experienced, number one. Number two, most people are more followers than leaders and not even capable of the thing that you're describing, number two. And number three, there's kind of this like boomerish mentality around this whole thing. It's like this traditional, albeit in a lot of ways that you just criticize and put an outdated model, is still the thing that everyone is used to operating in. It's like the boomer managers and bosses are used to the freaking employees being around them, because there's this false assumption. It's like, okay, there are humans that I have authority over proximal to my presence that I can tell to do things. That's actually a very primordial instinct with humans and leadership roles. Is like, I want to see my humans doing things that, even to an extent that predates language. That's like social mammal deep-seated shit.
I mean, yeah, but it's something about the management culture. I think it's gone crazy and it's become detached. I think that's quite evident. I mean, just look at this video. It's become...
the psychotics that the movie reviewer guy pointed out when he was reviewing the video. The fucking psychotics. Psychotics really want to know that you're constantly under their thumb and they could crush you anytime they want to. That's literally a psychotic mentality when it gets out of control.
No, and that's where micromanagement comes from, right? And for instance, right? I used to work for a company, and I was doing some immunoassays for them. And it's like, look, sometimes, actually, often, almost every day, you have an incubation period, right? Where you basically you've done the things to set up the little tiny experiment, and then you have to place it into an incubator and allow the cells to do their cell stuff, and they got to sit there for 2 hours, right? Now, according to the company, you should be using those 2 hours to work on other things, in theory. However, there's nothing else to work on. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna browse the internet. But then the boss comes around and then oh, you got to look busy. You got to look busy because you're on a 2-hour incubation, but you have to be doing something at all times. No. None of that bullshit. Look, I will deliver the results to you by the end of the day. Okay? That's it. You don't need to worry about it. You could be doing better things than managing me. The results will be on your desk by the end of the day. Okay? You don't have to give two shits about how I'm spending my time otherwise. Did I get the results to your desk by the end of the day as our contract agreed that that's how it's supposed to work? Yes. In that case, stay the fuck out of my shit, okay? I don't need you in my shit. I can do my own shit. I can get the results to you. Just don't fucking worry about it. You don't need to micromanage me. You don't need to make sure that I'm not browsing Reddit at 2 p.m. because you know what? Fuck you. I'm allowed to browse Reddit at 2 p.m. It's part of the job, okay? Part of the job. Part of the reason why this isn't the worst job in the universe is that I do have a 2-hour incubation period. Let me have the fucking 2-hour incubation period. Fuck off. In general.
And with that, we resume the video and find out what his opinion of what the employee is going to say is at the perfect time.
And you get that news, and then you iterate, and so that goes on for about 10 minutes where there's a really good conversation, and then...
I'm sure it's a really good conversation, and the employee definitely isn't just blowing smoke up your ass so that you'll leave them alone. I'm sure it's definitely a really good conversation.
And also the employee...
So we've recorded...
The employee in like this digital situation is probably... in a weird way, going to say things to your freaking digital avatar that they wouldn't say to a flesh and blood human. But at the same time, that's eventually going to equalize in a weird way, and you're going to end back at square one where you started anyway, because they're going to become accustomed to the human avatar.
Yeah, this I agree. This literally doesn't solve anything. This doesn't change a paradigm. What they're doing is, hey, let's take all of the bullshit that we're doing in real space and start doing all of that bullshit in the meta space. And
it will seem to work at first superficially, but then people will kind of adapt to it and just revert back to the excuses they were giving you when it wasn't in the metaverse.
They're not attempting to change any principles. They're just saying, hey, all the shit in real space that we're doing that isn't working, let's do all that shit that isn't working in the meta space, and then things will work, I guess. This is insanity.
All of your utterances, your audio, and your nonverbal behavior. So then you sit...
Wait, hold on.
He's getting the metadata.
So we've recorded all of your utterances, your audio, and your nonverbal behavior. Oh.
Mm-hmm. We're compiling a profile of you as a human. Soon you will be absorbed into the metaverse, and your pathetic meat corpse will no longer be required.
Oh man,
You will be nothing, and you will be happy. There is no one here.
This is so good. I cannot wait for them to record all of my utterances and my audio and my nonverbal behavior so that it can go into the algorithm so that it can decide if I'm a good boy or a bad boy. I can't wait for this. This truly is the future. This is the future that everyone wants. There's nothing dystopian about this.
All of your utterances, your audio, and your nonverbal behavior. So then you sit where the employee was sitting, and you then get to watch yourself delivering that news, and you relive the conversation from the employee's point of view. Then, after you get that hard feedback, which is watching yourself, you then go back and you repeat it. Great learning has you try something, make some mistakes, and then you do it again.
This is literally Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal. Literally, look it up. The Rehearsal with Nathan Fielder. This is literally what this guy is describing.
It's even more insidious. That's how you literally become the employee. It's like, I will become you. And the more I become you, the more I will understand, and we will merge into one singular collective being.
See, this is the thing, right? I like going over some of the World Economic Forum stuff because it is so mundane and it is so corporate. And it seems so just like okay, I guess. Like you don't even want to pay attention to it. It's just whatever. They're doing corporate stuff over there. until you actually look at it and you realize just how evil it is. It's like it's the most mundane thing, but also the most evil thing. It's worth going through it sometimes, as boring as it can be.
With VR, it's on demand, and employees can just go and get a 10-minute training dose whenever they want.
Beyond
What the fuck is a 10-minute training dose? Jesus Christ. No employee wants to have a 10-minute training dose, okay?
You employee number 10,269, you are required to report to the recalibration chamber.
Just have a hey there, friend. I'm your manager, and I'm just letting you know that you still have to do that the 10 minute training dose. Just you got to do your 10-minute training dose twice a week. You know, you got to do it. Just letting you know, I'm your friendly manager. Jesus.
Your productivity is decreasing. You are becoming inefficient. You require recalibration.
So good. This is so good.
Beyond just training, the metaverse and virtual reality also let people work remotely in ways that weren't previously possible.
Where the metaverse earns its keep is when you're doing collaborative
I'm sorry. The metaverse doesn't earn its keep. It has never earned its keep. This appears to be a black hole that you're throwing money into. What do you mean the metaverse, where the metaverse earns its keep? What is this?
Oh, like all those, you mean all those massive stock market gains that you, oh, wait a minute, that didn't happen.
No, don't worry, Breaker. This is definitely where the metaverse earns its keep. This guy is onto something.
tasks that are spatial, where if it's a small group, and it's important that when I look to the left and I point to someone, everyone else sees where I'm
No
pointing.
legs,
And
no legs.
if I walk up to you,
So, God, it's so immersive. So immersive not having legs. I've never...
Legless floating torso number 32, you are required for recalibration.
This is what happens when an institution goes crazy, right? We know what it looks like when a human goes crazy, but this is what it looks like when an entire institution goes crazy. This is it. This is what gets produced, and there is a certain dark humor in all of this.
you get a sense of my personal space, or if we're working on a shared object together, that the
I see
spatial
Steve.
aspect matters. And oftentimes when we think about being spatial, we think about vision. Is a person here, is a person to the right, and looking at them. However, spatialized sound, it offers an incredible amount of value in terms of social interaction. Naturally, in a
So does having legs, to be fair.
real world, if somebody whispers, their voice is lower. And if somebody shouts, their voice is louder. And when you're on a video conference, that doesn't necessarily happen. The same cues we use in the real world to understand people, we get to use them in the metaverse as well.
So, given the enormous potential of this virtual world, how much time will we actually end up spending in the metaverse?
I've been
Wow,
Ideally,
humans can
all of it.
see and hear. Wow. I didn't know that. I'm glad the metaverse taught me how to see and hear. I'm so glad for Mark Zuckerberg.
Also, I want to point out that they went to this shot of just like people sitting like metaverse people sitting on the top of Mount Everest or some mountain, and being like, wow, how cool. Here's the thing, right? If the whole point of Mount Everest is that it's difficult to get there, if you can experience Mount Everest every day, it's not special, and you don't go wow. You go,
No,
yes.
I want to go up. I want to go up to Mount Everest, but I want the full immersive experience. I want them to put me in like a meat freezer and like suck the oxygen out of the room and pump in nitrogen. Like
Yeah.
I want the real Everest experience.
See, that's
I want to
worth
be
something.
lightheaded as shit.
That's worth something, exactly. Yeah, it's if you can spend every day on the top of Mount Everest, then it doesn't mean anything. And then it's just like it's like going to your office cubicle. It doesn't have value anymore. For some reason they think, oh shit, if we can just have an office meeting on the top floor of the Burj Dubai virtually, if we can just do all these things, then things will be imbued with meaning and people will be more productive because they'll be more excited. No, humans fall towards baseline. If you make their cubicle look like Mount Everest, then they will get sick of Mount Everest almost as quickly as they got sick of their cubicle. I say almost. It might take like
By
maybe
the
a couple
way-
days longer.
By the way, I've seen better fucking graphics in Metal Gear Solid fucking 3. And that video game is old enough to fucking vote.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Jesus Christ.
How much time will we actually end up
All of the
spending
time. We will
in
spend
the
all of the
metaverse?
time ideally.
I've been studying the metaverse for 20 years. The metaverse is not going to change your life tomorrow. There was a moment where we thought all of us were going to be in the metaverse, meaning the media was promoting this as an everyday thing. And we're not going to have that for some years. It doesn't mean that the medium isn't being used. What we've learned about the metaverse is we're going to see slow and steady growth. It's going to be driven by use cases that make sense. The medium is great for these intense experiences that solve hard problems. However, for other things, a shared document will suffice.
Boxes.
So, a lot of things you don't need the metaverse for. The metaverse will creep in when it earns its keep, when there's something incredible to do there. Short of that, we should stay in the real world.
Motherfucker, didn't you just say it already earned its keep?
Yeah, I don't know. So that was
And those boxes falling down, it's like, quick, hide under the table or the meta boxes will fall on your head. This is an earthquake drill.
well, that's how you train the employee to get for the earthquake. That's how you train them. It's just all virtual training. So that was that was insanity. Rarefied, purified insanity.
And by the way, guys, everything I just said, why don't we just stay? He even said it out loud. Why don't we just stay in the real world? It's like, oh, you mean this whole fucking sales pitch? I spent all this fucking time listening to this, and at the end you just say, yeah, for now we just stay in the real world. But you know, at this future hypothetical time when our stock market numbers bounce back, don't worry, it's just a temporary lull. Nothing to see here. Don't pay no attention to the S&P 500. when we get back for this, we earn those fucking stock dollars back, probably by selling NFTs. We'll totally be in the metaverse then, but for now, just no. He even admits it. God damn it.
I am so happy that the WEF decided to release this and to give us just a sneak peek into their idea of the future and what they're trying to sell to corporate board members across the globe. I think, you know, out of all the places that exist, this will probably take off the most in China. This seems like something that the Chinese would really want to force on their own population. You know, you got your social credit score, and then maybe you'll have like a corporate credit score, and that's how nice your avatar exists in the metaverse.
The Chinese will just have blatant, full-throated recalibration chambers. They will literally just fucking lock you to a torture chair, stick the fucking thing on your head, and then teleport you to the fucking jungles of Borneo, where your balls get eaten off by baboons in the metaverse, while they're shouting very angrily in Chinese. We say you don't talk about Taiwan. How many times I have to tell you not to talk about Taiwan? Are you satisfied with yourself now?
So I will say this to you, listener. Look, the fact of the matter is that you actually do exist in a simulation. It is necessary via some certain constitutional rights that we inform you of this fact at some point in your life. This is the point that you're being informed that you do exist in a simulation, and that actually 98% of the people around you are just AI bots. There are a few humans around the world, but you've only probably ever interacted with one or two of them. This is just our formal declaration telling you that this is the case. I mean, this is how we tell you. We have to. It's part of the Constitution, but we're not going to tell you again. So there it is. Otherwise, I think that we can bring the show to an end. And any final statements, Breaker?
You know, this can all come to an end if you just wake up.
Please wake up.